2 Samuel chapter 15. And it came to pass after these things, that Absalom prepared to himself chariots and horsemen, and 50 men to run along in front of him. And Absalom rose early, and stood at the way of the gate. And it came to pass, every man which had a case, and came to the king for a judgment, that Absalom called him and said to him, From out of what city are you? And he said, Your bondman is from out of one of the tribes of Israel. And Absalom said to him, Behold, your words are good and well-tempered, but there is not one hearing you from the king. And Absalom said, Why shall he not place me for judge in the land? And every man shall come to me, to whomever might be a dispute and a case, and I will do justice for him. And it came to pass, when the man approached to do obeisance to him, that he stretched out his hand, and took hold of him, and kissed him. And Absalom did according to this thing to all Israel, to the ones coming for a judgment to the king. And Absalom adopted the heart of the men of Israel. And it came to pass at the end of 40 years, that Absalom said to his father, I will go indeed and pay my vows, which I vowed to the Lord in Hebron. For your bondman vowed a vow in my living in Geshur in Syria, saying, If in returning the Lord shall return me to Jerusalem, then I will serve to the Lord. And the king said to him, Proceed in peace. And rising up, he went unto Hebron. And Absalom sent spies into all the tribes of Israel, saying, In your hearing the sound of the trumpet, that you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron. And 200 chosen men went with Absalom from out of Jerusalem. And they went in simplicity, and they did not know not one thing. And Absalom sent and called Ahithophel the Gilonite, counselor to David, from out of his city Gilo, during his sacrificing the sacrifices. And there was a strong confederation, and the people went and multiplied with Absalom. And one came reporting to David, saying, The heart of the men of Israel is committed after Absalom. And David said to all his bondmen with him in Jerusalem, Rise up, and we should flee, for there is not a deliverance for us from the face of Absalom. Hasten to go, that he should not hasten and overtake us, and thrust evil upon us, and should strike the city by the mouth of the broadsword. And the servants of the king said to the king, According to all as much as seems good to our master the king, behold, we are your servants. And the king went forth, and all his house on their feet. And the king left 10 women of his concubines to guard the house. And the king went forth, and all his people by foot, and set up in a house far away. And all his servants passed by his hand, and every Cherethite, and every Pelathite, and all the Gittites, 600 men having come from out of Gath, by foot, were passing in front of the king. And the king said to Ittai the Gittite, Why should you go, even yourself, with us? Return and live with the king. For you are an alien yourself, and because you are displaced from out of your place. Since you came yesterday, then today shall I move you to go with us? And I shall go wherever I shall go. Go and return your brothers with you, and the Lord shall execute with you an act of kindness and truth. And Ittai answered the king and said, As the Lord lives, and as my master the king lives, that unto the place wherever my master the king might be, and if unto death, or if unto life, that there your bondman will be. And David said to Ittai, "Go and pass over with me." And Ittai the Gittite went, and all the men with him, and all his servants. And all the land wept with a great voice, and all the people passed through the rushing stream of the Kidron. And the king passed over the rushing stream Kidron, and all the people came unto the face of the way of the wilderness. And behold, also indeed Zadok and all the Levites were with him, lifting the ark of the covenant of God. And they stationed the ark of God. And Abiathar ascended until all the people ceased going from out of the city. And the king said to Zadok, "Return the ark of God unto the city. If I should find favor in the eyes of the Lord, and he returns me, then he shall show it to me, and its beauty. And if he should say thus, I have not a want in you, behold, here am I let him do to me the pleasing thing before him." And the king said to Zadok the priest, "Behold, you return to the city in peace, and Ahimaaz your son, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar, the 2 sons of yours with you. Behold, I wait for you in the wilderness of the desert, until the coming of a word by you to report to me." And Zadok and Abiathar returned the ark of God to Jerusalem, and it stayed there. And David ascended upon the ascent of the olive groves, ascending and weeping, and his head being covered over, and he went barefoot. And all the people with him, each man covered his head, and ascended, ascending and weeping. And it was announced to David, saying, "And Ahithophel is among the ones confederating with Absalom." And David said, "O Lord my God, efface indeed the counsel of Ahithophel." And David was coming unto Ros, where he did obeisance there to God. And behold, Hushai, the chief friend of David, was come for meeting him, tearing his inner garment, with earth upon his head. And David said to him, "If you should go through with me, then you will be unto me a load. If you should return into the city, then you shall say to Absalom, I am your servant, O king, allow me to live. For I was a servant of your father, then and just now, and now I am your bondman." And by saying this, efface to me the counsel of Ahithophel. And behold, there are with you Zadok and Abiathar the priests, and it will be every word whichever you should hear from out of the house of the king, that you shall report it to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Behold, their 2 sons are with them there, Ahimaaz son of Zadok, and Jonathan son of Abiathar. And you shall send by their hand to me every word whichever you should hear. And Hushai, the friend of David, entered into the city, and Absalom at present entered into Jerusalem.